Hello and welcome to this episode of Framlingham College in Conversation. I'm Tom Holmes, founder of Tom's Trunks, a small clothing brand set out to create the world's most comfortable clothing whilst looking after the environment and those that inhabit it. I'm really happy to be here with the pupils and the staff from Framlingham College to talk about entrepreneurship. So, hi everyone.
Hello.
Hi. As an entrepreneur myself, I'm really interested in chatting to young people about their passions and ideas. So I'm really enthused that the college is taking a proactive stance on supporting pupils in this way. Caroline, as head of careers at the college, can you tell me a little bit about why you place so much emphasis on entrepreneurialism?
Thank you very much, Tom. It's a really good question and a good point for the school. We often find that our pupils know where they want to get to and don't want to wait decades to make progress, which I think is understandable. So it's important to us as educators to recognise and nurture this entrepreneurial spirit by giving our pupils the tools to fulfil their business ambitions independently.
I absolutely agree there, Caroline. I think it's great to be creating an environment that helps people get stuck into their careers straight away. Can you just give me a little bit of insight into some of these initiatives and what you're actually putting in place to support the pupils in pursuing entrepreneurial thinking?
Absolutely. From a teaching perspective, one of the key things is adding business studies to our GCSE options and continuing to offer A-level and BTEC business to our senior pupils, which you'll hear about from those individuals who join us on this podcast. Outside of the classroom, we also have our Entrepreneurial Hub, which was launched in 2021. Aimed to support our pupils by providing access to a huge number of invested business people from across our parent body, the community of Old Framlinghamians and local business people. As part of this hub, we run a range of activities such as mentoring, in-school talks, workshops, workplace visits, interview coaching, and of course our Business Breakfast series, which has been a key focus to provide pupils interested in developing their entrepreneurial and workplace skills an opportunity to have conversations about their careers and learn more about industry from experienced and supportive figures.
Caroline, thank you so much for that insight. So let's go over to the pupils. So guys, as pupils of the college, tell me a little bit about your experience of business and entrepreneurship to date. Tasha, let's start with you.
So at the moment, in Miss Stiles' class, we've been planning an event, the fair that's coming up later today. I personally feel that it's helped with my development of my organisational skills massively. I've been put in a position in which I have to actually do the work to a certain standard without having that constant instruction from teachers, although their help is always there. It's very much a task that Rose and I have had to take charge of ourselves. In another one of our assignments that we're doing on international business, I realised that I am actually quite interested in finding out how business is done around the world, and that the international side of this, whether that's looking at different trade agreements or, the labour costs that are having massive impact on businesses, and looking closer, how the labour costs have a massive impact on the welfare and safety of people working.
Tasha, that's super interesting. Just out of interest, from the stuff that you've done, obviously on your course, you explain a lot about your course and what you're doing there. Do you do anything outside of that, to kind of pursue an entrepreneurship spirit?
I haven't yet. I've been speaking to Will a little bit about his future business ideas, and it's quite intriguing to see what he's doing to take that stance, but I haven't myself yet.
Okay, awesome. Well, Will, go on. let's hear a little bit about these.
You kind of did my introduction for me. Yeah, I'm quite keen on one because I'm in upper sixth.
Okay, awesome, nice.
So I'm quite keen when I leave to start my own clothing company.
Great,
so
good stuff.
Kind of my inspiration, but working like in business A level and as well art A level. There's kind of like the creative side, and I'm learning about how like businesses operate, like the different marketing strategies, and like the holistic, like the external factors that could like impact the business. So recently I've been like creating designs, like I found a supplier, and I feel like without business A level I wouldn't be able to really get that holistic look at it, and I think I'd be stuck because we cover like all the different like parts: marketing, operations, finance, HR. So yeah, I think it's great stuff.
Nice, awesome. Well, and how have you found finding a supplier? Has that been...
So I was quite fortunate, if I'm being honest. So because my mum used to, when she was younger, she used to work at a company called Brora.
Yeah, I know Rory, yeah.
Yeah, and then she started creating her own company, and they like helped her find a supplier. And then when she stopped, she kept in touch with the supplier, so kind of
Already
Super
had a foot
helpful.
in the door.
yeah, it really helped there. But I'm quite keen on facing like the ethical and sustainability side, so I'll be interested to know your thoughts on that later.
Yeah,
If you
no,
have any
definitely.
questions.
I think, nowadays in business it's kind of essential to
Yeah,
be super
definitely.
super ethical and sustainable. No, that's great. So you're heading down the clothing retail route. That's super super exciting,
Yeah.
and it's great to hear that the college have like supported, giving ideas. The course has really helped
Yeah,
you.
definitely. I've been
in-
speaking to one of my business teachers as well, Mr. Bethel, and he's just been giving me tips on like if I wanted to do it, like the way I approach like suppliers in meetings, and if I was gonna. So we spoke about colours and how many colours I want if I wanted like a limited range at the beginning to start off, and all about like stock and like stock control. So it was quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's all super fun stuff. Some stuff I really hate. Rose, what about you? So, how have you found your course? What's inspiring you to get stuck in?
I've particularly enjoyed looking at the international business assignments. The assignment that we're currently working on is finding a small UK food business selling their food in another country. I decided to look at Tiptree Jam selling their food in either Sri Lanka or Costa Rica. I found this quite interesting looking at the two different countries and the way that they operate in comparison to the UK, and then looking at the ease of selling in each country. I'm looking forward to next year where we have to create a business plan as one of our assignments. This will give me the opportunity to think about the possibility of where my business skills can take me. It will be interesting to come up with ideas which could possibly open up new ideas for the future.
So I think that these three pupils all have grown so much over the course of the last few years, and they really are representative of how motivated our pupils are. But we also are very aware that it can be very daunting when you first consider setting up your own business. So whilst we have you here, Tom, it would be great to hear a little bit about how you got started and how your vision for Tom's Trunks has progressed. Where did it all start?
So for me, Tom's Trunk started, well, interesting enough, it actually started when I was at school. And that's why it's a real privilege to be here at Fram College today is, for me, school was a major part in guiding where my business went. And it was a great market to start off in. So I started my business back in 2014 and I was 15 at the time. And it started after an amazing holiday to Kenya where I didn't have any shorts. So I thought, oh, this is pretty stupid decision. I think that kind of like sums up my character is who would go to a country that's like 30 plus degrees with no shorts, but that's me. So I went to Kenya and my dad was like, well, you need to get some shorts. So I walked down the beach and I found these amazing shorts and I was like, wow, these are super comfy. Let's get stuck in and buy some. I ended up buying 2 pairs, wore them all holiday. And meanwhile, my dad was getting more and more frustrated that I didn't change my shorts and he started calling them Tommy's Trunks. And that is how the brand started. But I think coming back to that point about, obviously I was in school, you have a great market. You've got that, however big your school is, you've got those friends and those people to support you. So you can have ideas, you can bounce ideas off constantly. And it's a great environment to really like develop as a person, but also a business idea. So that's where the business started. So once I've been in Kenya, super inspired by the product, and my dad started calling them Tommy's Trunks. I then suddenly like had a brainwave that I was like, actually, I could sell these and I know my friends would love them. So I was like, posting a few pictures. They were going, oh, I love your shorts. So I was like, right, I'll bring some back. And initially, for the first sort of 5 years of running the business, I had friends bringing them back in suitcases, and then I would sew them myself with a label on, package them up, and then sell them. And then after that, then I was like, well, this isn't really that professional. Like it was pretty crazy. Like sometimes we'd buy stuff, they wouldn't deliver it, or they couldn't happen, or a bag got lost, and it was really messing up the supply chain. So that was kind of like 2017. So that was when I was doing GCSEs. And then in my GCSE summer, I was like, well, do I want to get a job? No, not really. So I was like, right, I need to work out how I can make enough money to kind of fund the summer of fun, so to call it. So that's when I was like, right, let's go full time into this and try and make it a bit more professional. And that's when we started designing our own products and we changed the weave, started weaving it ourselves. And that's when the business really started to get a lot more exciting. It wasn't just selling to people that I knew. It was selling on a wider market. We set up a website. We started using Depop, which was amazing. Like that basically was the start of my business. One of my friends was like, Tom, look at this, like just get on Depop and start mass following people. And that's how we started. So it was like zero budgeting, zero marketing budget, but it worked a treat. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. But yeah, do you guys want to ask any questions and dig deep?
I only have 3 questions, but I'm sure I'll have some more by the end of it. My first question is, how did you actually plan to grow your business given where you started from in school with not huge amounts of support? And were there any challenges that came with being so young and starting a business?
Yeah, Tash, that's a really great question. I mean, I think if I'm honest, plan, that's a new word to me. Like, I had no real plan. All I did know is like I have a hunger for growth, and I'm sure like most people do actually. Most people like to see progression. So that was the real thing that spurred me on. Is it was like, well, if I buy more, I can then sell more. So I need to plan, like, and I wasn't planning. I was just like, right, I need to buy more to sell more. Right, this market's getting a bit saturated. Let's go somewhere else. It's only recently now that we've kind of got like a team and stuff like that. Then I've now started planning because I'm like, if I don't actually plan, these people aren't going to be paid or whatever. Yeah. So I think when I was that young age, that naivety was so special. And I think we're in a generation where you can Google absolutely anything and it's going to solve like a lot of issues. And so, yeah, I think that's my answer to how I planned things out was I didn't, I now do. But I think naivety was kind of helped me and that sort of element of asking forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah. Looking more recently, is there anything in particular that you feel you've done that's ensured your growth as a business?
I think something that we've definitely taken on board and like really tried to pursue is like the social media side of things. And I'd say that something that's really helped our growth is like real honesty. So one thing that I try and portray for our brand is we have nothing hidden. If you want to find out anything, and if any customer emailed anything, I would be willing to tell anything. I think that's really helped because it comes back to our values of like looking after our supply chain, giving great product, giving great price, and giving a great value whilst making really comfy stuff. So I think just that honesty element and portraying that through socials has really helped our growth. I mean, it's hard to ever say what's contributed to growth, but yeah. That's what I'd say.
My third and final question, and the one I think I'm most intrigued as to your answer, and I know Rose is going to ask you some more questions about the sustainability and that side of things in a bit. But just quickly, do you think that the main goals of your business and the brand's ethos has remained consistent, or do you think that it's changed? And if so, what has forced that change?
So when I initially started the brand, the pure focus was on about creating really comfortable loungewear and whilst always having a positive impact on the environment. And I think, you mentioned about sustainability and stuff like this. For me, sustainability is really important. It's absolutely vital. But that is no longer or can no longer be our USP. So I think we've been distracted as a brand and been like, that is our USP, but that can't be our USP. I see sustainability as like now it's just a given. If you're not sustainable, you shouldn't be in business. Absolutely. So I think in a sense, that's kind of how we've changed. I would say in the past sort of last year, probably we tried to like market it a bit, sustainability. But now I see it as actually, if you want to find out about it, you can. That is not why we're in business. I think we're in business to add value through comfort with zero impact on the environment. I think that's where my stance is now. But I think, as the business grows, you definitely do change. But I would like to say we haven't lost our vision of trying to like create super comfy clothing. And hopefully, we're going to continue to do that, which is super exciting. But yeah. Yeah, Rose, far away then. If hit me some hardcore sustainability questions.
What sparked your ideas of creating clothing out of the sustainable material that you have?
Okay, so all of our products are natural materials, no acrylics, polyester and stuff like that. I think the thing that really sparked it wasn't about sustainability, it was about comfort. So cotton obviously isn't actually that sustainable at the moment, but it lasts a super long time and it washes really well. So you've got that longevity. So one thing that I like in clothing is I don't want something that I wear and it wears out or like I wear and it goes bobbly. It's just like something I really don't want to have. So I think that's probably the main thing that sparked it, was actually about its functionality of natural fibers that kind of followed it through.
Okay. Did you consider any other alternatives to this pathway?
I wouldn't say when we started we did, but right now, like, we are really focusing on materials and like the way we weave, the way we manufacture. So one thing that we do now is like we really look at how we can reduce waste when we're doing our pattern cutting. So like we'll use like technology that is literally zero waste, and then all the waste we'll then reuse in other products. So I think in the past, no, but now we like look at it. But I think that also comes down to, like when you start out, we didn't have like loads of funds. So I didn't have a big research budget, or like I didn't have a research budget. I didn't have any budget. I was just like, well, this is a great product and it's sustainable and lasts a long time. Whereas now we can look into products and it's super exciting what's going on. Like, I'm sure you've seen stuff like hemp's a massive like thing, and it's really exciting to see like these new products coming out. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that's good actually. Thank you.
Nice.
Can I ask a question quickly, following on from Rose? How did you actually find your supplier? Like, how did that come about? Because I don't know all that much about starting a business, and I am quite interested to know, where did you start? Like, how did you start looking for a supplier, and then how did you end up with such a good supplier?
Finding a supplier, again, I went to Google. So I was like a bit of a loved YouTube. And I've always said this is like, for me, it wasn't what I learned in business studies. I've done a business degree now. Not going to lie, probably teachers don't want to hear this. None of that stuff has taught me the stuff that I use every day. So most of the stuff that I use every day is like YouTube. So like learning how to do Photoshop, super important for like socials. But finding a supplier, again, I YouTubed. Then there was literally a tutorial on like, this is how you can search for suppliers. Just strip through Google and just WhatsApp like literally hundreds and hundreds of suppliers. And in the end, I actually found our supplier. They were producing like a towel.
Yeah.
Like it was a hammam towel. And I was like, that's a similar product. So initially, all I looked for was someone to weave our fabric because I wanted to change the weave. And then once I found them, I was like, well, surely if you're in the industry, you're going to know someone that can do a bit of sewing. And then he did. He was like, yeah, my brother can do the sewing. And it kind of like happened like that. And then now, like, I've been working for him for 6 years. And like, he's had 2 children. Like, I'm like...
Part of the family.
Well, yeah, literally. I video call him at his tea time and he's like, yeah, having a chit chat. So I think that's how we found a supplier, Google and YouTube. And that's literally it. I think there's no like quick way. There's no website that says, here's a list of suppliers that can produce like trousers or shorts or whatever. So when looking for suppliers, like I would have a criteria of questions that I'd come up. So I'd say, where does your energy come from? As a first one. Do you own because a lot of like, especially like woven textile suppliers, they own their cotton fields and their growing facilities. So that'd be one of my own other questions. Do you own your supply chain? Is it vertically integrated? And then often it would be about, I'd chat to them and say like, this is what I want our product to be. I need to know all this information. And if they wouldn't share the information, they wouldn't have that same honesty basis. So like, if I want to be able to say that I'm sustainable, I need to know every answer.
Yeah.
Where our cotton's from, how much fertilizer is used on that cotton. And if a supplier wasn't willing to give me that information, either they didn't know or they were hiding something. And that was kind of how I persuaded my vision. It was just like, share the information. If you're willing to share it, then yeah, let's talk further. If you're not willing, on to the next WhatsApp message. Literally is how it went. And I think...
Would you say that those almost checkbox questions that you then asked them came from a sustainable point of view or more of a financial point of view? Because I'm assuming that some of the questions were more thinking about, oh, this would make a good product and it's cost effective, I can afford that. Or were you 100% focused on the sustainability of it?
So Tash, that is a really, really good question. And I think sustainability is a big word. But to me, it's about being sustainably economic and sustainable in the environment. And sustainable in the environment is a pretty big thing. For me, it's about having zero impact and now we're working towards positive impact on the planet, so making it a better place to live. Because at the end of the day, like, our generation is, there's no point running a business if we have no planet to live on. Like, that's pretty pointless. So my question is, like, we started off, we didn't have packaging. Well, that's sustainable and saves me a lot of money. So we were then always looking for ways to try and be as sustainable as possible. But again, if usually sustainability saves money, it's like we use all our offcuts.
Yeah.
So all that stuff that previously we were throwing in the bin, I'm now making a return on. So not only is it saving waste and just, it's actually creating revenue in the business. So I think, and that's something I'd definitely advise anyone to look into. I don't think sustainability needs to be a cost. Obviously, sourcing natural fibers is more expensive, and organic cotton is more expensive. But if I'm getting the gain from using the offcuts, and my customers are, want to buy stuff that's from patchwork and stuff like that, then actually it's balancing out, if not being on a positive effect.
I feel like customers would respect that as well and appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I think Rose, you're definitely right. I think customers now, at least when I buy stuff, like, I want to know. Like, I think you don't want to buy something from someone that's, something that's just cheap and
I think it's important.
overproduced.
I think it's important to a lot of people as well. That's why they value those sorts of products.
It's just like a must-have, isn't it? Like, it's now got to happen. Will, have you got any questions? You've been quiet there in the corner, but let's hear.
Yeah, I'd be quite intrigued to know. We've kind of talked about it, but obviously wanting to start a business of my own, how important are your links with, like, charities, like Tom's Trust, and your commitment to dedicate some of your profits to good causes? Do you think that helps create this, like, strong relationship with customers that you're talking about, or do you think it's, like, purely, like, intrinsic, if that makes sense?
So for charities and our relationship with Tom's Trust and other charities, I think it does help build customer relationships, but more importantly, it gives a really good purpose to people that are working with you. So, like, sometimes money isn't, like, just paying someone a wage isn't quite enough. And actually, if you want to motivate someone really well, getting on their emotional value and saying, well, look, guys, if we create more revenue, we're going to be able to give more to charity. And this is having an impact on so many other people's lives. So for me, I found it as a great way to kind of get people together. And even for me, like, I often find it, there's points when I'm like, geez Louise, do I really want to, write that report or, like, do a carbon audit or whatever it may be? But then I'm thinking, you know what? This is going to help the business in the long run. And also it enables us to give more to charity and have a bigger impact. So I think it's sometimes that mission helps get everyone together. And if you can actually do it, I mean, it's positive on people and the planet. So yeah, I think I would definitely say it is a worthwhile. I mean, we found it hard though, especially when we were starting. We didn't give a lot of money.
Yeah.
And even now, I want to try and give more. But again, you often think, investing in this part of the business could help. But yet you still got to give the money to charity. It's like, it's one of those things
Yeah,
that
you have to find that balance.
You do have to find that balance. But I definitely think it is a key topic. And I think, most people do want to, especially in, like, a clothing brand, like clothing, there's so much option in the market. So you've got to work out how you differentiate and why people want to buy from you. So yeah, I'd say it is really important.
Yeah, there's definitely a trend at the moment as well to do with, like, when you're buying clothes, focusing on that, like, sustainable, like, ethical.
Yeah, ethics is a massive thing, yeah. And I mean, as you say, it is a really hot trend, but I personally think it's not necessarily just going to be a trend either. Like, I cannot see anyone going back to be saying they're, like, buying from Primark's really good.
Yeah, that's so true.
Like, it's just, I don't see it happening. And obviously, like, we're talking and we're obviously in a position where we can buy, maybe pay a premium for sustainability, but that comes back to my, like, core point of sustainability should not come at a cost. It should become looking at more innovative ways to look at our supply chains.
So I see a lot on, like, social media with, like, lots of, like, ambassadors for Tom's Trunks with, like, stories about 10% off using my discount code, like, posting pictures of themselves wearing it. Do you think that's quite a key marketing strategy that you've done recently?
I thought you were going to ask for one of those little discount codes.
Oh no! Please, can I be an ambassador?
No, so okay, that's a really interesting thing, and it's been something that. So I've recently gone full time to business. I wasn't full time in at the start, and I was curious to understand a little bit more about, like, how these ambassadors are working. So I think influencer marketing, 100% is worthwhile. but we are actually stopping doing our ambassador codes
Oh, really?
because there's so many good like extension cookies that will then take that code and put it onto like honey. So I was like, so how it worked is everyone was getting paid commission, and I was like, these guys are earning like thousands in commission. Wow, this is nuts. Like they're doing really well, and I'd send them a message each month going, yeah, you're doing really well. They were doing really well, but I was like, they weren't actually creating any content. So where are these sales coming from? But they were all on these websites. So people were just clicking, yeah, get 5% off, get 5% off. But that's more of like the code method, the practicalities of it. Yeah, maybe we were doing it wrong. I think that was a big learning for me. But the concept of sending stuff out, paying people to, or, you know, getting people to promote your product on social media is so important. And like now we're just changing our strategy. So we're not going to do codes, but we'll still do the same process.
Give a free pair.
Yeah, we'll give a free pair, or we want to make like events that people can come to. So like we'll give a free pair, invite them out, maybe send them like 10 quid if it's their birthday and say go get a beer or something. Like small little things, but just try and make more of a community. Because for us as a business, we want people to be creating the content. I'm not really bothered about their sales. I'm bothered about that ambassador representing the brand in a way that we want it to be represented, in a way that they want it to be represented.
And if you have lots of like ambassadors or whatever, if you have them like dotted around, I guess it kind of creates like a community effect. So like, oh, I know someone who's connected with it, and then like it's like creates this like knock-on effect, so everyone feels like in a group.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really fun, is like when you like, and I even find it fun when I like meet someone that is an ambassador and go, oh, so you know them and they're another ambassador. Like it does make a community. I think that's definitely something that you should, like, I don't know, don't really want to like say you should, but like creating, and we're not that good at it yet, but creating like communities, and you can see it in like other brands who create really strong like bonds between other users and like a club basically. So yeah, definitely ambassador marketing works a treat. Just no codes.
Might be quite open-ended, but how did you choose your design? Because whenever you see someone wearing a pair of Thomas trunks, you know that they're Thomas trunks because of the stripe down the side or the colours that you've used. How did you think of that? Was it the Tommy trunks that you found in Kenya that had that, or did you just think of it on your own?
Yeah, so I'm not going to take credit for this. This is like a Kenyan fabric, and it's like a traditional material. I didn't design it. All we did is change the colours. So it is like a classic material. But then something that we found when we were making stuff in Kenya, and we still now make stuff in Kenya, but we do it in a different way, is that they would change their colours a lot, whereas we just try and keep really consistent on our colours, our weave, the cotton that we buy and everything like that. So yeah, the design-wise and how we chose it wasn't anything like, there was no like light bulb moment. I literally was like, oh, I like that, let's buy it. And I think that's something that I think is really important to remember, is like, I must admit, I still to this day like don't quite realise how we've been able to sell so many, because when I started it was literally like a bit of fun, but I've always been like clear on what I want to do, which is create comfy clothing. And so I think the idea doesn't necessarily have to be super original, so long as you keep on like bringing new stuff out and keep making it like have little bits of originality, but otherwise, yeah.
As you're quite young and you've got quite a successful business, how have you developed as a leader from this?
Leadership for me I wouldn't necessarily, I'm always the best leader. I've found myself, and I know that something that I was reading about about the entrepreneurship hub, how you've got this idea where you've got mentors. I've always been like really keen to try and like find mentors and learn from anyone. And a mentor for me can be someone my age. You know, like if you can see someone play sport really well or be a really good captain, and you can just take like little bits from that. Or it can be someone that's running a massive brand or a massive business and how they lead. I'd say I learn every day how to like lead the team. And when the team grows, there's not like one leadership style that I have. But I'd say probably the most important thing that I did, so when I left school, I went to an apprenticeship with Morrison Supermarkets. And that was where I was, thrown in the bottom, working in a factory, and did that for like 6 months, working in a factory, making bouquets of flowers. And that, I'd say I just learnt so much, because I was then managing and leading people that were older than me and better than me. Like, I'm going to be really honest. They deserved it a lot more. They've been working there, making bouquets of flowers for years on end. And I found that's where I really learned how to like lead. And I still think like I've got plenty to learn. Like,
So you've picked up loads of different skills from a range of different people then?
yeah, basically, I think you will find that as well, Rosa. You just see everything that you see, you just take on board and then learn. But yeah, and I think I'm like really open. The one thing that I find, I'm really open to feedback. So one thing I encourage with the team that I've got at the moment, and anyone, like even after this podcast, I'll ask for feedback of like what you thought. Like, I think I'm really not worried if someone says like, I think you're a bit this, bit that. Like, I'd rather know, and I'd rather be able to tell someone. I think being able to just take the feedback and take the hit if someone says yeah, then hopefully you can be a better leader, because that's where I'm at. Yeah.
I'm assuming that you have quite a reasonably large staff collective. Would you say that you're still very much in charge of all of them, or would you say you have like head of departments and that sort of thing? And from that, would you then like think about stakeholders and that sort of thing?
So our team's actually really small. So at the moment, I only have one other full-time person.
All right.
But we are looking to expand that. And because I was working full-time, I've outsourced a lot of the business elements. So I'd still say that I'm very much like in control of everything. But in terms of like people management, actually in the past, the business, we haven't done much of that. Like, there's a lot of really great outsourcing online tools and stuff like that. But now we're trying to bring the business a lot more in-house. I think I'm focusing on more. So like keeping stakeholders engaged and like the team engaged is like, I think just being like nice, like being friendly. Yeah. So like the one full-time person that I have, like I would classify us as like really good friends. Like we're with each other on Be Real. Like we know each other, you know, it's just a more of a friendship than anything else. And I think that's the way I want to run my business. I don't expect anyone to like sit in our office, like working all day. If you're finished, see you later, or let's go do something fun. Like, I don't want to sit here all day either. Let's actually create some content. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
But then there's also a point that you have got to work hard. But yeah, so that's, our team's small, so I don't really know a huge amount about it yet, but it is growing. So like we're recruiting at the moment and we're bringing on full-time people. But
would you say that, like, as you said, being like friends with your employees and things like that is a big part of being in the Thomas Trunks kind of world?
Yes, but I think it needs to change. Unfortunately, like I've definitely learned a lot. So a lot of the time in the past I've like employed friends, best friends, and you know, I think you have got to draw the line. So it's very different if you come into the business as friends. I think if you come in and make a great like they come in, you don't know them, and then they make a great relationship, it's usually better. Usually where I found that things haven't necessarily worked out and have been great learnings for me and hopefully the others is where we've been friends and then started working together. Because there is obviously points, you know, you have this exposed culture that is like super chilled.
Yeah.
There is points when you're like, actually stuff needs to get done, and then it can cause some issues. So yeah.
I've got a question. How do you think social media has affected your business?
I mean, our business wouldn't be a business without social media. Okay. Like, again, it's I think a thing now where people just, if you're not really on socials, you're not really out there. We definitely saw a massive increase during COVID with TikTok. And now our TikTok accounts died, like we don't have anything on there. But it was really like positive, and I think like socials has really helped in a massive way.
Have there been any drawbacks to social media?
I think one thing that we've got a challenge at the moment is online, like I don't know how much you know about socials, but like content that engages well is usually that like image of that really inspirational image that isn't necessarily that good for people's well-being. And like we want to have a really inclusive brand, but I'll be honest, at the moment our social is pretty like one directional because that's the content that is doing well at the moment. So one thing that I'd say has a negative impact is it doesn't necessarily enable a positive culture for everyone. I think it can have a lot of repercussions. Also, like, you know, you can get trolls, you can get people that, you know, make you feel bad, like if someone puts a bad comment on. But otherwise, I'd say all in all, social media is super positive, and the downsides are not as bad as, like, imagine if we didn't have it and I was having to ring up everyone to say.
Would you say that social media and, you know, your TikTok in COVID and for me, your Instagram is the biggest one that I'm aware of. Would you say that they're almost your biggest advertisers rather than, you know, paying for advertisements and things like that.
Yeah, so we don't pay for ads at all, but we are going to start doing that. But yeah, I'd say like Instagram is 30% of our sales every day come from Instagram, and that's direct click-throughs.
Yeah.
And then I think the rest is like word of mouth. So I'd say socials and events. So obviously events for me are like, I love it, but our team aren't that keen on events, but I absolutely love events. So they're here to stay.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so yeah, socials are super, super important.
Tom, thank you so much for the time that you've spent with us. I know that I have learnt an awful lot from listening to you, and I'm sure that the pupils here have as well. And we're looking forward to seeing what you produce in your next Instagram adverts, and where the world of Tom's Trunks takes you in the future.
Well, Caroline, thanks so much for having me. It's really kind to actually be here, and I do feel a bit out of place, I'm not gonna lie. I'm sure everyone here is much more intelligent than me, but yeah, thanks so much for being here. It's a real honour to be on this podcast. And yeah, let's go smash it. I think we're part of the next generation of that's something that's super exciting, and it's gonna be mega. Whatever all of us do is gonna be crazy.